Hello everyone, this is POW Ponder on Weather. In this update, we're going to be talking about major flooding, big storms, Tropical Storm Henri, as well as our next tropical storm, maybe in the Gulf. So if you do like weather-related content, please subscribe to my channel as I will upload daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. So let's get right to it. Let's start off with the overall water vapor imagery for Sunday, August the 22nd. What we're looking at here in these areas of kind of blue and yellow shaded areas, those are areas of our highest precipitation amounts. And you can definitely see we have an active flow over parts of Idaho and Montana and parts of the Dakotas. They're going to be dealing with some strong thunderstorms that are going to be coming out as the jet streams. Well to the north, we've got a lot of dry air underneath into the desert Southwest. It's drying out in Texas. And of course, we've got Henri that's going to be making coming a beeline to the shore and making huge impacts to New England. And then we have Grace all the way down here as just won't let go. And it looks to re-enter the Pacific and actually reform again. I mean, it's a pretty formidable storm. That has a lot of its convection still that's going to be entering back out into the Pacific. So let's take a look going forward what Thursday looks like. Again, this active flow continues to remain to the north, so it looks like a wet week ahead with some strong to severe thunderstorms at times of these systems moving across. Down here at the below, we've got still pretty high pressure is going to be in place here for a lot of the southern states. It's pretty dry all week for Texas, but we've got this little feature out here into parts of the Caribbean by that Thursday time frame. We've got a lot of precipitation building out in the Caribbean. This looks to head towards the Gulf as we go into next weekend. And as we go into next weekend, this area could be our next tropical system that we might have to be dealing with. And if it does come to fruition, it would be Tropical Storm Ida. So that is something of concern going forward as we're getting into the most active time of hurricane season. So definitely this is a concern after Henri comes ashore. So let's go over the details. Here's the latest rainfall amounts just over the last 24 to 48 hours. I mean, it's been a lot of rain kind of well to the north into Montana, parts of the Dakotas. That one piece, that trough fishtailed all the way down into parts of Kansas City here. And yesterday we just had inundated flash flooding over parts of Tennessee here with these training cells that just seem to be relentless all day long. In fact, upwards to 19 inches. Yes, 19 inches fell in parts of Tennessee. But then even along the coast here, even this morning, you can see some of these blues coming up. Man, parts of Jersey into Central Park have already picked up multi-inches of rain. So, but yesterday, this actually broke an all-time Tennessee 24-hour state record, guys. I mean, it literally rained, 19.2 inches. The official total was 17.02 in McEwen. That broke the all-time 24-hour rainfall record of 13.6 inches. That actually fell in 18 hours. So we had 17 inches of rain in 18 hours, essentially from midnight all the way to about 6 o'clock yesterday. And they just had catastrophic flooding. I mean, the pictures out of parts of Tennessee are just heartbreaking. And unfortunately, as the last time I checked, there were actually 10 fatalities from that region, and there were about 31 people still missing with extreme flash flooding in that area. So that was sad to see yesterday that taking place. But as we zoom into Henri this morning, man, it's already dumped some very heavy rainfall. When the National Weather Service sent out the weather balloon last night, it actually recorded the all-time highest water precipitation index of little over 2.6 inches per hour in New York. That was the atmosphere. That was what was the atmosphere that was capable of. And then last night between about 10, 11, 12 o'clock, midnight in Central Park, it rained 1.8 inches just in an hour, guys. And then it broke the record 4.45 for the day. I mean, I think that was a record dating back to 1888. I mean, 4.45 inches in Central Park, and now we're up to 5.1. And there's a lot more rain coming, and Henri is still well offshore. It hasn't even got to land yet. And a lot of these impacts, a lot of the flooding rains have been well west of the center as this is still continuing to come inshore. But even in parts of Trenton now, we're upwards to 5, 6, upwards to 7 inches in parts of New Jersey. So this is a serious flash flooding, major flooding event. As we zoom into Henri and the latest details, it has come down. The official guidance has dropped it from a hurricane to a tropical storm of 70 miles an hour. Basically, it lowered it 4 miles an hour, right? But the main thing, it has actually made that west turn that we were talking about. It's going northwest now at 16 miles an hour. The pressure is down to 986. You can see it's still offshore. It's expected to make landfall probably around noon, maybe 1, 2 o'clock time frame, somewhere in Rhode Island. That would be where the center possibly could cross later on this afternoon and come ashore. But they've already recorded wind gusts of upwards to 55 miles an hour into Rhode Island. But these tropical storm force winds go out upward to 125 miles an hour. So just because the center is not going to be over you doesn't mean you're not going to get impacts. This is a huge system, and you're going to get impacts with rain and some of those higher wind, the storm surge, because all this is going to come together. It's going to be a nasty day for parts of New England and parts of the Northeast. So here's some of the latest radar. This was as of like 6:46 a.m. when I was recording this video. But man, look at that. Look, you can almost see the eye on radar, and these bands traverse all the way because it has that northwest flow, right? That's why I was a huge concern with flooding from this system, because you got all these outer bands going pushing off and to the west, spreading all that heavier precipitation well inland. Look at Trenton, look at New York. I mean, these are all areas that are just getting inundated with some very heavy rain as the eye continues to remain offshore, taking advantage of all that warmer waters. Luckily, the waters do cool down this region. That's one of the reasons why Henri did lower into a tropical storm, because the sea surface temperatures are now about 73 degrees out in this region. So, and I don't expect it to regain intensity or anything like that. It's already kind of peaked. But the main culprit from this event is going to be your high wind. You got a lot of power outages. You got to understand with the ground was already really soaked in this area. Then you're adding all these multi-inch rains, and then you have the wind coming down from that. You got the soil really saturated. It doesn't take much for these trees to come down in that environment. So it's a combination of all that. Then you have the power outages, and once the power outages go out, it's gonna be hard to come back on, because once they go out, it's very difficult to get out in those conditions to fix these issues. So we could be looking at multi-days of not having power in a lot of these areas into New England. Here's one of the main flood concerns in this region is a moderate risk for excessive rainfall. You've already seen they've already got 5 inches in New York City. Right around Central Park area. Now we're looking at a moderate risk of a continuous heavy excessive rainfall all the way from Albany to Hartford to New York City, even into Philly, going all the way to DC is not out of the question, with those outer bands continuing to push across with some very heavy rain. But this extends all the way. And one of the things it slows down that I was going to show you with Henri, it slows down. I mean, look what happens. It goes northwest. This is from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. But then look, from 2 a.m. to 2 p.m., that's 12 hours, folks. That doesn't really move anywhere. And that's the concern as this slows down inland over Connecticut into Massachusetts. At some point, it's got to slow down, almost kind of stall at some point, or really start to crawl as it makes that beeline pivot to the right. But that could be a whole entire day or 36 hours over land. So that is definitely concern. It's not just the eye coming ashore and you have a wind event and this rapidly subsides. There's a lot of inland flooding with this, and we're still going to be talking about Henri all the way up until Tuesday. I mean, it goes all the way up to Maine. This is Tuesday. This is Tuesday afternoon. So this is Sunday morning when I'm doing this video. So this is a long duration event from Henri. And then here's the wind impact. So as this comes ashore, it looks like to be coming just right of Long Island here, probably making landfall somewhere around Rhode Island area. But those are going to be your highest wind gust into Connecticut, into Rhode Island, southern Massachusetts. It's more rain out here into New York, into Jersey, back into Philly with those outer bands, but you're still going to see some of those tropical storm force winds because they extend out to 125 miles an hour. But this flow goes all the way up into Vermont, New Hampshire, even into Maine. You could be seeing some of those tropical storm force conditions, and the surge on top of that of 1 to 3 to 2 to 4 to 3 to 5 feet storm surge is not out of the question as this comes ashore with high tide and a full moon. So this is all coming together as just not a pretty sight for New England. For here's the rest of the country today. Like I mentioned, there's that one system that comes across. It brings some severe weather into parts of South Dakota, into Nebraska here. That goes into parts of Iowa later on this afternoon with some of those strong to severe thunderstorms. So definitely be looking out for that as Henri will be making its impact to parts of New England. But going forward, our main concern as we go into next weekend, we could be looking at possibly our next tropical system coming out of the Caribbean, entering the Gulf of Mexico by that time frame. A lot of the model guidance over the last several days are starting to come together as this could be our next potential setup in the tropics. I mean, here's just your water precipitation index from next Sunday. You can see this abundance amount of moisture out here into the Gulf of Mexico. That is some very heavy rain entering parts of the Gulf of Mexico as this would continue pushing off into going towards the north. And look at the latest probability of the European guidance. It has a tropical type entity coming across into parts of the Yucatan. It could be entering parts of the Gulf of Mexico by the time we get into next Saturday time frame. So that's definitely a concern from anywhere from Mexico to Texas, all the way to Louisiana. A lot of the model guidance has something coming out of the Gulf into next weekend that could have impacts. Here's the latest GFS kind of ensemble member guidance. You see a lot of members take a tropical type entity into parts of Mexico, into Texas, all the way to Louisiana. So we're starting to get congruent model guidance anywhere from Louisiana to Mexico that we could be dealing with a tropical system as we go into next weekend and in that first day or two of September. And even the Climate Prediction Center has already highlighted an area of heavy precipitation from that August 28th through September 3rd timeframe, essentially right along the coast. So if you do live right along the coast of into Texas, into Louisiana, and parts of Mississippi here, definitely be on the lookout into the Gulf of Mexico by next weekend, as we could be looking at our next tropical entity getting a little bit closer and trying to get its act together. So I'll definitely be talking about it in the days ahead. But even after that, I mean, we're going into our most active time of hurricane season. And again, the Climate Prediction Center has already highlighted an increased amount of precipitation of above average precipitation for those southern states, anywhere from Texas to Louisiana to Mississippi to Alabama into the Carolinas into Florida, showing that it's an active setup going in. We've got an active MJO phase, we have an active Kelvin wave coming across, so that a lot of the dynamics are coming together as hurricane season looks to kind of really ramp up, especially as we go in towards that peak season, September 10th. And it definitely looks like the monsoon actually comes back in a way and actually brings more precipitation to parts of Arizona. I mean, like Phoenix, we're talking your second wettest monsoon ever on record, and we've got more rain before the monsoon season ends, which is typically about the end of September. And unfortunately, we got more dry air for the Northwest. Man, I wish we could change this setup, but it doesn't look like it in the next week or two, at least for parts of the Northwest as far as precipitation wise. So I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.